Hi Anna, Miss Philly, and the rest of the Real Women of Philadelphia. I'm Lori, and I'm thrilled that you are here to join me for round 2 of side dishes. It's exciting for me to be able to be back in my kitchen and sharing new side dish recipes with you. I think the theme of this week, by the talk on the forums and such, is going to definitely be asparagus. Asparagus is an amazing vegetable that is at its prime at this time of year. And what could be better than finding new and exciting ways to mix your asparagus with your Philadelphia cream cheese to come up with flavors that are exciting and satisfying for your family and for your guests. So I thought I'd jump right in there with everybody else and give you a side dish recipe starring your Philadelphia cream cheese and fresh asparagus that your family's going to love. Let's start with making up our recipe for asparagus stacks as our side dish today. So this is going to mix a biscuit dough with cheddar cheese layered in an amazing flavor combination of our Philadelphia cream cheese, chive and onion flavor, wrapping our delicious asparaguses up in stacks and baked in the oven together. So let's start getting going on the biscuit dough and we'll chat as we go. I'm going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour into a mixing bowl. And then to that, we're going to add 4 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. I've got baking powder there, 1 teaspoon of salt. Once those are all mixed together, then I'm going to throw in my cheddar cheese. I've got 1 cup of grated cheddar cheese here. Old or sharp cheddar will give you a bit more of a burst of flavor with the cheddar. So we're going to incorporate that in nice and easy. And then it comes time for our butter or margarine. A trick to show you. The key to the trick is cold butter or margarine that you're going to put into your biscuit dough. Now instead of using a pastry blender, which is a great tool to use in certain circumstances, but sometimes is a little time consuming, I find with this recipe, your biscuit dough will be just as good and a little quicker if we just grate with our regular cheese grater our butter or margarine straight into our bowl, shake it out as you go, and just grate it straight in there. And then it'll be broken up into little strips like grated cheese, but that'll be the perfect portions to incorporate into the biscuit dough. You want it to be nice and crumbly, which a pastry blender does really well to get a pea-sized little pieces. So that's what you're going for if you're going to use your pastry blender. But if you're in a little bit more of a hurry and want to just get it done quick and easy, then go ahead and grate your butter or margarine right into there. So that was 1/3 of a cup of cold butter or margarine. And then just toss it into your flour mixture and into your cheddar there. Okay, so now with that done, we're going to put in about 3/4 of a cup and maybe a pinch more of milk. Basically 2% milk works well. So you're just going to pour in a little bit at a time and then toss it together. Biscuit dough, you want to handle it as little as possible. So try to incorporate as much with the spoon as you can. And then I switch to my hands. Again, as little handling as possible, but you want to get it in there. You want to get it all mixed in there together so that it'll hold its shape and all the flour will be incorporated. What you want to do now with your biscuit dough is set it out onto a cutting board and then just use your hands to press it into a fairly thin rectangle. I prefer to use my hands rather than a rolling pin so that there's a little bit less handling. The rolling pin will make your biscuit dough to be a little bit tougher. Okay, when that's all set out on your cutting board in a nice rectangle, it's important that it be on a cutting board because we're going to slice it now into strips. Okay, so once I've got that pressed out on my cutting board to about 1/4 inch thickness, so pretty thin, not like what you're used to in making biscuits, then we're going to move on to the best, most flavorful and tasty part. It's our Philadelphia chive and onion cream cheese. This is going to add creaminess and flavor to our asparagus. It's going to make it absolutely delicious. So I'm going to use 1/2 container, so 1/2 cup of our chive and onion Philadelphia cream cheese, and just spread that all over this rectangle of biscuit dough that I have on my cutting board. You know, I think when my mother sees that the side dish recipe I'm sharing with you today is for asparagus, she is going to be shocked. Because for about probably 20 years, I had a standing rule in life that if it was green, I didn't eat it. It applied to vegetables, it applied to absolutely everything. And I felt like things just tasted green, and I wasn't really a big fan. But what I discovered was I just hadn't had enough great recipes yet to know how to cook vegetables to bring out all their delicious flavors. And I hadn't discovered the secret that if you put Philadelphia cream cheese on any vegetable, it is going to taste amazing. And I think that in knowing that now is one of the things that makes my children to be such vegetable lovers themselves. So now that I've got half a cup of chive and onion cream cheese spread all out over there, then I'm going to take and slice my biscuit dough into about 1 inch straight lines from the top to the bottom. So I've got little strips of biscuit dough covered in delicious Philadelphia. So out of this batch of dough, we've got 8 servings of asparagus stacks. Okay, with that done, next we move on to our asparagus. I have taken my fresh asparagus and trimmed off the ends. That's where you want to get rid of anything that's maybe dry or a little bit tough on the end. And trim them all to about the same size to toss them in olive oil. So just coat them up there, toss them around and get them covered in oil because we are roasting these in the oven along with our biscuits for our asparagus stacks. When you're purchasing asparagus, I find it really depends on where you're shopping, but you need to be careful to make sure that you're getting good quality and fresh asparagus that's going to be delicious. So what I look for is to make sure that if a store is selling standing stacks of asparagus, like most of them do, I'm looking for ones that keep them in water. Asparagus dries out very quickly, so unless it's stored airtight in plastic, you need to keep them sitting in water so that you don't dry them out too much and they can retain all their flavor. So now that I've got those tossed in oil, I'm going to take one of my strips, set it to the side, and then take about 3 or 4 asparagus and alternate them to ends so that you're going to have the beautiful, colorful, scalloped ends on both sides of your asparagus stack. So I've got a stack of 4 here, and then starting at one end, I'm going to wrap the biscuit dough around the end, tuck it in there, and then just continue to wrap that biscuit right around there. Now if you find that your biscuit dough is a little bit thicker and isn't going around all the way, you just flatten it out with your hand a bit before you roll it. Now what you want to see is rows of biscuit dough with some asparagus peeking out in the middle, because you want this to be a delicious asparagus stack, not so much a biscuit with a little bit of asparagus. So after we've done that, we're going to set them on our baking sheet, a little bit separated out, and they'll be ready to go into our preheated oven. My oven is sitting at 425, and then once I get my asparagus stacks rolled up and set in there, it's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes. And what you're looking for is to make sure your biscuits are golden brown and baked throughout, and then your asparagus will be perfectly roasted. So now we've got our asparagus stacks ready to go into our oven. I'm going to keep an eye on them, and we're going to take a look and see what they look like in about 15 minutes. After 15 minutes in the oven, I wish you could smell these as well as just see them, but the asparagus is perfectly roasted and your biscuits are nice and golden. So there you have a delicious and flavorful way to eat your asparagus this spring and summer. I hope you can enjoy it in your home as much as we do in ours. Thanks to our Philadelphia chive and onion cream cheese and our fresh crispy asparagus, you've got a recipe that is sure to impress your family and your guests. Well, I'm about done waiting because I can smell this as much as you can see it, so I've got to take a bite. The perfect combination of flavors. Thanks for joining me. I'm Lori and I'm looking forward to seeing you here again. Keep cooking with cream cheese and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.